There is no reason why you can't enjoy a restaurant quality meal at home, especially because have you seen the cost of food lately? If you have the patience to braise some beef, all of this could be yours. So let's get into this recipe for braised beef with a Chinese 5-spice pomegranate glaze. For this recipe, you're gonna need a big old pile of beef. Today, I'm using about 3 pounds of neck bones, which might be a cut you're less familiar with, but it is very affordable, especially compared to some of the other options like oxtail or short ribs. Those are certainly things that you could use in this recipe, and I have a feeling it would turn out amazing. But if you stay tuned for the second half of this video, I'll actually do a cost breakdown to show you why I went with this cut versus the others. And I think you might be surprised to see the difference in the cost per serving. But anyways, set that aside and we're gonna grab our aromatic vegetables. So that's our carrots, celery, and plenty of onion. And to that, we'll also be adding some fresh ginger and garlic. Now this fresh ginger is just peeled. It's about a 2-inch piece that I've cut into smaller portions and smashed. And then with garlic, you know how to measure this. It's whatever feels right in your heart. I'm using, I think, about 6 or 8 cloves here, and the same thing, they're just peeled and mashed, and they're gonna be tossed into that braising liquid when we get to that point. Next, instead of red wine, today we're using pomegranate juice plus some beef broth for our braising liquid. And this next part is gonna make your kitchen smell amazing. It is our spice mix. I'm using a few sticks of cinnamon, some green cardamom pods, whole cloves, peppercorns, star anise, and bay leaves. And for good measure, grab some oyster sauce too. You'll need a heavy bottom saucepan, a braising dish, or if you're like me, a very well-loved Dutch oven. Start heating up that pan, and in the meantime, season your beef with a pretty generous amount of salt. And we need to brown this beef so it can start to develop that really rich, beefy flavor. So work in batches if you have to avoid overheating your pan, but we're looking for this nice crust to start to form. Let it sit for at least a couple of minutes, and for me, this is honestly the hardest part because I'm so impatient sometimes when I cook, but you need to let it sit for at least a couple of minutes on each side in order to get to this point. Once all sides of your beef are browned, you can transfer that out so the vegetables can go in. Now, hopefully while you're browning your beef, a little bit of fat sort of rendered out to give you a base to cook those vegetables in, but if not, you can add a little bit of olive oil if you need it. Let those cook for a few minutes, and eventually we'll add in our ginger and garlic. A couple minutes more, and it should be smelling pretty fragrant. Next, we're using half a cup of our pomegranate juice to deglaze our pan. This is just the process of grabbing up all of those cooked on bits to add some more flavor. So get it in there and scrape it around, add our spices, and get everything up to a simmer. This is gonna need at least 2.5 to 3 hours, and you really cannot and should not rush this process. There's 2 reasons for this. The first is that we need that low and slow cooking method to break down those tough, gristly parts of our beef cuts into something that is tender and juicy, almost gelatinous. I mean, when this is all done, it is literally gonna fall off the bone. And that's exactly what we want. That is what makes braised beef dishes, in my opinion, so freaking delicious. And when you get just that right bite, there's like nothing better. And second, it gives us time to prep our pomegranate glaze. So take whatever pomegranate juice is left in that bottle from earlier, add it to a small saucepan over low heat. We're gonna bring this to a simmer and concentrate it down until it basically makes a DIY pomegranate molasses. As this is heating up, we'll also add some lemon juice, some Chinese 5-spice powder, MSG, and honey to round out those flavors. Let this simmer for 2 hours uncovered until it reduces. We're essentially making a simple syrup, so if you like things on the sweeter side, you can also add a little bit of sugar. Pomegranate juice is known for its wonderful antioxidant content, and there's no worry about losing out on those benefits. Our friends over at Palm Wonderful looked into this and learned that even after 2 hours of cooking, those antioxidant levels remain stable. And honestly, if you'd rather skip this step and spend that time relaxing or doing anything else, I don't blame you. So in that case, grab a pre-made pomegranate molasses and you can use that for the glaze instead. I would, however, highly recommend using a little bit of that cooking time to prepare a nice starchy base. Now my carb of choice is rice, so that's what I went with, but I think this recipe could also be really good with potatoes or egg noodles or even polenta with maybe a little bit of cheese. After those 2.5 or 3 hours, you can check on the beef and it should be literally sliding off the bone. If it is barely clinging on and you can easily shred it with a fork, it's done. This is like a big savory bowl of comfort food, and let's be honest, I am never not craving a meal like that. Here's another view of our finished dish. Oh, so good. I wish you could taste this through the screen. But we're not done yet. That was only part 1 because I told you this was a more budget-friendly option for a braised beef recipe. So next I'm gonna do a cost breakdown and show you exactly what I spent per serving. If you have a guess for the cost per serving of this meal based on everything I've shared so far, drop it in a comment and then watch to the end to see how close you were. I admit I was a little surprised. I had no idea what it was going to be, considering we used some ingredients that were less expensive, a few that can be a little on the pricier side, and we also had a ton of seasonings. So with that, let's get into it. Oh, but actually before we go, I have to say, if you like what you've seen so far, you should hit that subscribe button for more fearlessly nourishing meals like this. All right, so I'm basing the math off of 4 servings. Depending on who you're serving and how their appetites go, you might get more like 5 or 6, but I'm gonna be a little bit conservative with this. Normally I shop at whatever grocery store or market I happen to be closest to at the time, but for this, I wanted to make it as applicable to the most people. So I actually went online to Walmart, and Walmart is, you know, whatever. But I will say, when I was growing up in rural Missouri, that's where we did about 98% of our grocery shopping. And it's because we didn't have another full service grocery store. And nowadays, I think you could find almost all of the ingredients there. And you can even do an online order. So in my opinion, that's a pretty convenient and affordable option for a lot of people. Recipe costing might sound boring and nerdy, and it is, but I had to do this as an undergrad student for my food service management classes and my quantity cooking labs, and it really is kind of a useful skill, because you don't think that a few cents here or a few dollars there is going to add up the way they do, but over time, it does make an impact. And I mean, the reality is that food is just getting more expensive, and I know a lot of people's budgets are getting squeezed, so this might be a helpful way to check out one of your own recipes, especially if you want to get on top of your shopping habits or recipe costs. Some of these ingredients are a one and done, like we're using the entire carton of beef broth and the entire bottle of palm juice, but others like the onions or the honey need to first be broken down into a per recipe price. But don't worry, I already did all this math for you, so I think it's going to go pretty quick. First up is the star of our show. It's our beef. And I compared prices across a few different cuts. So I ended up using neck bones, which I think are a really underrated but affordable cut. And I don't know about you, I'm just not willing to spend $30+ on oxtails. So even the short ribs, which were kind of middle of the road as far as cost goes, was sort of high. And I'll show you the difference between the 3 of those when we get to the end. So keep an eye on that total on the bottom. I don't know if my math is exactly accurate, but it doesn't need to be. We're just estimating here. Okay, so next up, we have all of our aromatics and vegetables. So that's our onions, carrots, celery, garlic, and ginger. And next, our broth and seasonings. So beef broth and palm juice. And we are going to use this whole bottle, so that's only going to show up once on this list. Palm is normally a little bit higher than this, so I actually thought this was a pretty good deal. Okay, and then for our spices, that's our oyster sauce, star anise, cardamom, cinnamon sticks, cloves, bay leaf, and our peppercorns, which I actually included somewhere else at the end. Next, we have our ingredients for the glaze, so palm juice, our Chinese 5-spice, lemon and honey. And remember, I served mine with rice, so let's get an estimate for that too. And finally, there's some miscellaneous stuff. This is where those peppercorns come back in, because in restaurant or quantity kitchens, you'll have what you call a Q factor, which is like your cover cost. It's just a blanket estimate for things that you're using all the time. That's like our cooking oil, salt, things like that. But I did include MSG separately because I just love it so much. I want everyone to know that it is such an affordable way to add flavor, especially umami flavor, to your food. It's really not that serious, so I'm just gonna call it 20 cents. That's probably high, but you know, it's whatever. All right, so drum roll please. The cost per serving for my braised beef with a Chinese 5-spice pomegranate glaze is $5.60 per serving. So how close was your guess? I mean, are you surprised at all to hear that number? I feel like it actually came out about what I thought. I was like, okay, if we can get this under like $6 per recipe, I feel like that would be pretty good. And this could be really different for wherever you are. I mean, food costs can vary widely across different regions of the United States or in other countries. So I get that that number might not reflect what food costs are where you are. But again, I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, considering if I had used oxtails, I did the math, the cost would have jumped to $13.41 per serving. And even the short ribs, which were kind of, you know, middle of the road cost wise, that would have bumped the cost to $9.28. So, I mean, all things considered, that's not too bad. I mean, I'm a lot more willing to spend, you know, $5.60 per serving than $13. At that point, I might as well go out to eat. It's probably not going to be braised beef in a fine dining restaurant, but you know, it's just, again, a good kind of gut check to see like, what are you really spending on food? So the whole point of this is just to show a few cost saving measures that you could do if, one, you're interested in getting on top of your grocery budget, but also two, looking for ways to still enjoy what I, again, think is a restaurant quality meal for a fraction of the cost. The other thing you could use in here that would save you even more money is pork neck bones. So all of the seasonings and flavors and the braising method can be used for pork just as well as it could for beef. And I was reminded of this because I was doing some shopping the other day at the co-op in our neighborhood, and they had pork neck bones on sale for $1.19 a pound. So, I mean, if you do the math, that's going to be even less expensive. So just keep this in mind next time you see a recipe calling for braised beef. Like I said, it would be really delicious to use oxtails or short ribs or some of these more popular and expensive cuts, but you don't have to. I can't promise that these swaps would work for every braised beef recipe, but it worked pretty good for this one. I mean, look at it. So if you're still watching at this point, I have to assume it's because you're at all interested in videos like this, but leave a comment and let me know. I mean, one, it does let me know what you'd like to see, but two, comments like that really help out small channels like mine. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'm Kara, I'm the dietitian behind Street Smart Nutrition. This is the home of fearlessly nourishing meals, and I really hope we'll see you here again soon. Green cardamom pods, green cardamom pods, some Chinese five spice powder. That was a little bit better. Not great. They're talking to each other.